welcome back to NSA Aviation. And today I have the Vancouver model airport update, which is just after the one I made for Seattle as I went to both airports. And this is the first time I've ever done Vancouver on the channel, so let's get right into it. Starting off over there in the WestJet regional section of the B gates, we have this WestJet Encore Q400, which will be heading up to Victoria after a flight in from Cranbrook right over. And then next up we have another WestJet Encore Q400, which is going to be heading up to Comox today after a flight in from Nanaimo. And then right here we have this WestJet 737-700, which will be heading up to Regina today after a flight in from Saskatoon. Here we have this WestJet 737-800, and it's still in the old swoop library, which hasn't been painted out of it yet, which will be heading out for a flight over to Toronto Pearson today. Next up right there we have this WestJet 737-800, which arrived in from Edmonton, will be heading back out there. Over there we have this Flair 747 MAX 8, which will be heading up to Kelowna today. And then another Flair Airlines plane, this time a 737-800, which will be heading out to Calgary today. Right there we have this Porter E195 E2, which just arrived in from Montreal Metropolitan Airport and will now be heading up to Hamilton. Right there we have this Air Norris 737-800, which arrived in from Yellowknife and will now be heading up to Whitehorse. And now just boarding before a flight out to Winnipeg is this WestJet 737-700. And right here, about to be heading out to Calgary is this WestJet 737 MAX 8. Over there is this Air Canada Airs A320-300 in the TCA Retrojet library, which will be heading out for Ottawa today after a flight in from there. And now, making its debut in my model airport, the Air Canada, very rare Air Canada Express Q400 in the old library, which I got back in May, getting some cargo loaded on before a flight out to Castlecar. Here we have this now retired Air Canada Express CRJ-200, which will be heading out to Prince Rupert today. And over here we have this Air Canada Jazz CRJ-900, which will be heading out to Smithers today after a flight in from Prince George. This library does not exist anymore, but the plane still flies for Air Canada Express. Here we have this Air Canada A220 in the regular library this time, which will be heading out to Edmonton. Here we have this Air Canada Airs A320-200 in the old library, which will be heading out for Halifax. Right there we have this Air Canada Rouge Airs A319-100, which will be heading out to Kelowna today after a flight in from Puerto Vallarta. Here is a Air Canada Airs A330-300, which will be heading out to Tokyo and Narita today. Over there is this KLM's 777-300ER in the Orange Pride Library, which just arrived from Amsterdam and will be heading back out there in about an hour. Just getting some catering loaded on before boarding starts is this Condor Airs A330-900 Neo, which will be heading out to Frankfurt after a flight in there a few hours ago. Pushing back for Singapore is this Air Canada 777-300ER in the now retired Air Vancouver 2010 Winter Olympics Library. And now moving into the US gates, we have this American Airlines A321-200, which will be heading out to Chicago O'Hare today. But over here we have this American, there's A320 and the -200 in the regular library. That other one was in the American West Heritage Library, which I forgot to mention. He'll be heading out to, this one will be heading out to Phoenix Sky Harbor after a flight over there. Over here, getting some baggage offloaded after a flight in from Reykjavik. Keflavik is this Iceland Air 737 MAX 8, and he'll be staying the night before heading back out there in the morning. Right here, we have this Air Canada 737 MAX 8, which just arrived from Las Vegas and will now be heading out to Honolulu in about an hour's time. Right here, just finishing boarding before pushing back is this Alaska Embraer E175, which is heading out to Seattle after a flight from Portland. Right here, fueling up before a flight over to Salt Lake City is this Delta Connection Embraer E175, which is heading out to Salt Lake City, as I mentioned, after a flight in from Seattle to Tacoma. And then right here we have this Air Canada Express Q400, which is my broken older version, and this one's also in the new library, which just arrived in Seattle. Will be heading back out there to flights that I did. Right here we have this Air Canada Express CRJ-900 heading out to San Francisco after a flight in from Sacramento. Right here is this Delta Airs A319-100, which is heading out to Minneapolis, St. Paul today. Just arrived in from San Francisco is this United Airs A320-200. And right here, about to head out to Denver after a flight in there a few hours ago, is this United 737 MAX 8. And right here we have this Sun Country 737-100 without winglets, which is pulling into the gate after a flight from Minneapolis, St. Paul. Taxing in, he's going to be waiting for a gate for a few minutes. Is this American Airs A321-200 in Medal of Honor library, who just arrived in from Philadelphia today. Moving over to the cargo area, we have a cargo jet 737-200, which is driving from Louisville, and then we have a FedEx 767-300 freighter, which is driving from Los Angeles and now going to be heading up to their main hub in Memphis. Just about to take off, just waiting for a plane that's already taking off. This is Aeromexico MD-82, which will be heading up to Mexico City. And taking off over there is this United 737 MAX 9 for Newark. And then just taxiing in after flying from London Heathrow is British Airways 207-200LR, which is right in from London Heathrow, and now we're heading out to London Gatwick as the British Airways does service from Vancouver to both of London's main airports. And finally, we have this Harbour Air de Havilland Canada Beaver, which is taking off on the water area for float planes at Vancouver Airport for Tofino Harbour. And anyways, that's it for today's video. I have a couple more airports up next, which will be Winnipeg, Edmonton, and Princess Juliana Airport. So stay tuned for that, and I'll see you guys back in the next video.